This is PGT paper 2018. Let's see the content. The plural form that stands out among the following candidates: children, men, elves, teeth. Among the following candidates, that stands out among the following candidates. Okay, stands out: men, child, children, elf, elves, man, man, tooth, teeth. Irregular plural forms. These are child, children, elf, elves, tooth, teeth. That stands out among the following candidates. What it might be: child, children, men, tooth, teeth. Maybe I think elves. I'm not sure about that. Ashok has bought Dash HTC mobile recently. So and 3 and 4. Option 4. Ahmad doesn't smoke. Ahmad doesn't smoke or drink. Or option 2. Lata has agreed to your suggestion. Smita worked yesterday very hard. In the sentence, the problem is with. Listen, the problem is Smita worked yesterday very hard. Adverbial of manner, the adverbial of place, adverbial of time, the adverbials order. Worked very hard yesterday. So order, option 4. We'll have written a verbal pattern of the verb right indicates continuation of the action up to the present, completion of the action at a particular past time, no, continuation of the action at a particular future time, yes. Option 3 is right answer. Sita is dash than Kalpana. Good looking, more good looking. So option 4 is right answer. Fatima keeps crying. She must have a problem. The model in the above structure is Fatima keeps crying. She must have a problem. Okay, the model in the above structure is must have possibility, yes. In the following verbs, the verb that requires two complements. Name, sleep, fly. The following verbs, the verb that require two complements. No idea, friends. If you have any idea, please let me know that in the comment box. Which of the following coordinates clauses for the purpose of emphasis? For the purpose of emphasis, yes, unless. Second is right option. Imperative sentences are irrelevant to imperative, irrelevant to emphatic requests, irrelevant to emphatic, no, commands, instructions, and request imperative sentence, right? So I think directions. Which of the following is not a passive construction? The door was opened is passive. The door was shut is passive. Uh, Not a passive, no? Okay. Kiran was surprised. It's not a passive construction. Huh? Sorry. Uh, Kiran was slapped. Yeah, first option one is right answer. Excuse me. The grammatical differences between direct speech and indirect speech are motivated by uh, change of situation. 4. The grammatical issue or reference to decide upon finite and infinite verbs. Finite and infinite verbs. The grammatical issue or reference to decide upon finite and infinite verbs. Tense as option 3. The compound equivalent to the complex clause, if you work hard you will be promoted, is unless you work hard you won't be promoted. Okay, first option 1 is right option. Which of the following is acceptable? A burning desire, burning disagreement, a blazing desire, golden chance. A burning desire. A burning desire. The English vowels that do not occur word finally are. The English vowels that do not occur word finally. Word finally are finally. Do not occur word finally. No. So I don't have any idea about this, friends. The word combination receives primary accent on the word combination receives primary accent on the syllable. Combination, first syllable. The syllable on which a pitch movement begins is called. On which a pitch movement begins is called intonation, I think so, I'm not sure. Colon is used to introduce a list of items. Yes, first one. In the preface to the second edition of Lyrical Ballads, Wordsworth tried to define poetry by first asking no idea, friends. S.T. Coleridge collaborated with Wordsworth. S.T. Coleridge collaborated with Wordsworth in no idea, friends. The first long poem by John Keats is no idea. The poem P.B. Shelley concludes with the line, "If winter comes, can spring be far behind?" No idea. In Hours of Idleness, Lord Byron employed. No idea. Charles Lamb gathered the criticism of life in his famous work. So, no idea. The chronological order of the following works by Charles Dickens. No idea. The Round Table, the first collection of Hazel's literary sketches, appeared in the year. Which of the poems written by Lord Tennyson is a Requiem of Arthur Henry Hallam? No idea about that. I'm very poor at literature. My Lost Duchess is a dramatic monologue spoken by. According to Matthew Arnold's Culture and Anarchy, barbarians do not have. In all her fiction, George Eliot was concerned with. Thomas Carroll grafted dash onto his Scottish Calvinist feeling. Stones of Venice by John Ruskin was published between 1851 and 1853 in dash volumes. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world is a generalization made by. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. These lines are taken from Das poem. The poem The Sun Rising is an emotional lyric in the poem of. The rhyme scheme in the poem The World is Too Much with Us by Wordsworth is. The emotion William Blake refers to in his poem A Poison Trees. John Keats in his famous poem Ode to Nightingale refers to Flora as the keynote of the poem Ode to Autumn is. W.B. Yeats' thoughts in his poem The Wild Swans at Cole resemble Keats' thoughts in the poem. The phrase Spiritus Mundi used by W.B. Yeats in his famous poem The Second Coming refers to. The poem Byzantium presents the dichotomies of. Robert Frost poem The Road Not Taken is taken from. No idea. Oh, listen, for the veil profound is overflowing with the sound. The above lines are taken from the poem. The metric foot employed by Robert Frost in his poem Stopping Pivots on a Snowy Evening is. The last bar gang that made Tagore a free man was. The Shakespeare's poem Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Mind. The rhythmic minimal pair in the first two lines of the poem Bengal Sellers by Saroj Naidu is. First two lines. According to Francis Bacon, the chief use of studies for ornament is seen in his short story Dream Children, a Reverie. Lamb tells his children about their great-grandmother. The Nightingale and the Rose is poignant story about the dash. The essay How to Live to be 200 is taken from the collection of essays titled In the Conjurer's Revenge by Stephen Leacock, the trick performed first is. E.V. Lucas is known for his essays and books about. The story after 20 years begins at 10 o'clock at night. Yes, 10 o'clock at night. According to Isaac Asimov, the hallmark of human intelligence is. Hands do speak in customary process is the basic truth explored by. A silent and hard-working picture frame echo in the essay The Gold Frame is. How Far is the River is Ruskin Bond's reflection on the psychology of way. The novel by R.K. Narayan that won the Sahitya Akademi Prize in 1960 is. In the novel Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, the Bennet girls have beauty and. The Bennet girls have beauty and Mm, no. Nehru was much ashamed of India's Next Sunday, a collection of weekly essays by Arcanine was published in. The play The Tempest by Shakespeare deals with the theme of what brings back Ferdinand to Miranda. To Lady Macbeth, death is the symbol of the ultimate earthly ambition. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? Is said by. An excellent introduction to the historical plays by William Shakespeare is. Julius Caesar by Shakespeare is a tragedy that explores the relation between the poetic tragedy revoked of a melodramatic cynican revenge play by Shakespeare is Death. Shakespearean Gertrude is the queen of Death. Mother's Day by J.B. Priestley's. J.B. Priestley's Mother's Day, George Pearson is the husband of. The play Refund is a satire on. Fridge Corinthi is a Death. The American playwright who adapted Corinthi's Refund is Death. The story of Hamlet as a tale of Hamlet is originated in. Took pains to make three speak, taught three, each are one thing or the other, when thou didst not savage are the words said by. And notes the study of poetry was published in the year. According to Matthew Arnold, poetry's high function is actually to replace. Arnold suggests that our estimate of poetry is death. Arnold believes that poetry attaches its emotion to. Science, Matthew Arnold says, will appear incomplete without death. According to Arnold, the needful qualities of a fit prose are. The best poetry, Arnold says, will be found to have a power of. Arnold says, let us explore a poet if he is a death classic. For T.S. Eliot, the function of criticism seems to be essentially a problem of death. T.S. Eliot does not agree with Mr. Murray's formulation of death. T.S. Eliot states that the English writer, the English divine, and the English statesman inherit only death. To T.S. Eliot's mind, the French in the year 1600 had already advanced. The name T.S. Eliot gives to the inner voice is death. Some creative writers, T.S. Eliot says, are superior to others because their death faculty is superior. In function of criticism, T.S. Eliot has not defined death. Read the following passage and answer the questions that follow it. I have in the abstract no disrespect for Jews. They are a piece of stubborn antiquity compared with which stone hinges in its known as the date beyond the pyramids, but I should not care to be in habits of familiar intercourse with any of that nation. I confess that I have not the nerves to enter their synagogues. Old prejudices cling about me, centuries of injury, contempt, and hate on the one side, of cloaked revenge, dissimulation, and hate on the other between our and their fathers must and ought to affect the blood of the children. The hatred between the author and the Jews seems to be historical, political, abstract. And second, we need to read the passage. I have in the abstract no disrespect for Jews. They are a piece of stubborn antiquity compared with which stone hinges in its known as. They date beyond the pyramids, but I should not care to be in the habits of familiar intercourse with any of that nation. No disrespect for Jews in the abstract. The author and the Jews seems to be abstract, I think. In ancient Jewish custom, synagogue refers to. Synagogue, no idea about this. When the author says, I have not nerves, what does he mean? The author has no courage. Read the following passage and answer the question that follows it. A stout lady was walking with her basket down the middle of a street in Petrograd to the great confusion of the traffic and with no small peril to herself. It was pointed out to her that the pavement was placed for foot passengers, but she replied, I am going to walk where I like. We got liberty now. It did not occur to the dear old lady that if liberty entitled the foot passengers to walk down the middle of the road, it also entitled the cab driver to drive on the pavement, and that the end of such liberty would be universal chaos. What does the author want to tell us in the above passage? Uh, it was pointed out to her that the pavement was the place for foot passengers, but she replied, I am going to walk where I like. We've got liberty now. Dear old lady, that if liberty entitled the foot passengers to walk down the middle of the road, it also entitled the cab driver to drive on the pavement, and that the end of such liberty would be universal chaos. Liberty is to no liberty without rule. Yes, liberty without a rule is chaotic. Third option is right. Read the following poem and answer the question that follows. Now it is time to remember the winter festivals of the old world and see their rafter halls hung with hot holy tongues, confusion, slow beat of the heated blood in those great palaces, decked with pale and sickled mistletoe, and voices dying when the blind bard rises, robed in his servitude, and the high harp of sorrow sounding stills those upturned faces. The lines of the poem talk about now it's time to remember the winter festivals of the old world and see their raftered halls hung with hot holy tongues, confusion, slow beat of the heated blood in those great palaces decked with the pale and sickle mistletoe, and voices dying when the blind bard rises, robed in his servitude, and the high top of sorrow sounding stills thus upturned faces. The lines of the poem talk about winter festivals. No idea. Methodology, friends. Now, picking up a second language through exposure is called. That is called picking up second language through exposure. Acquisition, I think. Dash controls how much input the learner converts to intake. The learner converts to intake. Aptitude. According to acquisition of second language takes place when the learner is exposed to and understand language. I don't have idea. Chunking and sequencing of input will be primarily found in textbooks that follow Dash theory of learning. Learner thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, and values are considered important in giving students rules to practice and designing activities that encourage conscious efforts to learn is called. While teaching functions of language, which among the following may be least important? Schema theory describes how new knowledge is acquired, processed, and to facilitate long-term retention of knowledge. Apprenticeships, modeling, and on-the-job training are commonly found in a desk classroom. Which among the following cannot promote acquisition of a second language in a formal classroom? Use of Velia helps. Receptive skills are those used in. Extrinsic motivation drives us to engage in a behavior. Which among the following steps of a lesson allows activation of prior knowledge? Evaluating lesson plan effectiveness at the end of a lesson will not help the teacher determine. Education for Sustainable Development by UNESCO advocates. Which among the following is not a feature of communicative language teaching? Inductive teaching in the TEFL classroom can be most closely equivalent to. English is called lingua franca due to. Detailed feedback to students is an essential feature of the theory of universal grammar propounded by Chomsky claims that the idea that social interaction plays an important role in cognitive development was first put forward by which among the following can be a deterrent for language learning? Vocabulary are set of words that learners understand and regularly use in speaking or writing. Contextualized teaching of vocabulary means teaching. Which among the following is a recommendation by the Secondary Education Commission aimed at redirecting education to cater to the needs of all people? Major contribution to the English teaching scenario in India by the Qatari Commission of 1966 was which among the following is similar to the direct method? Natural method. Pronunciation is not a fundamental feature of which methodology relies on students recording and analyzing their speech? What is blended learning? Which among the following will not be classified under devices used for mobile assisted language learning? Technology that helps students with disabilities is called which of the following can help develop writing and listening skills together? Noticing features of L2 helps learners pay special attention to. Language across curriculum can be most closely realized through. Which among the following is the right order of steps of a linear model of lesson planning? For NCF 2005, aim of all English teaching contexts should be presenting information to be learned to students and allowing them to assimilate the information in a way that makes the most sense to them is called. Inductive instruction is a student-centered approach that makes use of the DAS strategy. Okay friends, that's all. I'm sorry I could not provide the answers to you.